Hi, I'm Jason Sanders, and in this video, I'm going to show you how to integrate GPT assistants into Autogen using the new uh, OpenAI Assistants API. And pulling it into Autogen allows you to have multiple GPT assistants actually interacting with each other. So with that, let me hide my head here and let's go over to the code. So I've set up a Jupyter notebook, Jupyter Python notebook in Visual Studio Code. And I've set up a virtual environment, a virtual Python environment. And the first thing to do is so if you'll go to your command line, you should see a .venv, and you'll want to pip install pyautogen 0.2.0b5. And that's it. That's all you need to install. So for example, just copy and paste down here and then hit enter. I'm not going to do it now because I've already installed it. And that's the only installation that you're going to need to run this, to run Autogen and connect into the OpenAI API and work with the new GPT assistants. So this first code block here, basically I'm just pulling in my OpenAI API key from my env file. And if you don't already have a OpenAI API key, you'll need to sign up with OpenAI and get one. This next code block here, I'm importing OpenAI, and I'm basically setting the client up to pull in my OpenAI API key. And this client is important because it's how the Autogen is going to interact with the OpenAI. Okay, so the first thing to do is to upload a CSV file to be analyzed. And in this case, I'm going to work with a CSV file that has data from a cryptocurrency survey that I sent out about a year ago, a little less than a year ago. And I asked a series of questions and got, I think, around 178 responses, something like that. And I have it saved in a CSV file, and I want to see how the new GPT assistants, how well they can analyze that data. So to pull in this file, you'll use this code here, and I've got it pointing to my documents folder where I have the raw data being held. So you have file equals open pointing to that path, and then purpose is for assistance. Okay, the next code block here is where we're creating an OpenAI assistant with access to that data file. So to do that, we write assistant, and you could name this whatever you want, but I'm calling it assistant. Then client.beta.assistants.create. And within this parentheses, I'm naming it Python developer. The instructions are, you are an expert Python developer. The model is GPT-4-1106-preview. That's the latest API from, or the latest model from OpenAI that allows you to work with assistants. And then I'm passing in the file ID. So when I run this bit of code up here, this file code, I'm going to get a file ID, and I'm passing this file ID information here into file IDs. Then tools, I'm setting the tools that this assistant is going to be able to access. And I'm setting it up so that it can actually access Code Interpreter, OpenAI's Code Interpreter. So what you do is you type tools equals brackets and then squiggly brackets, type colon Code Interpreter. So basically, in a nutshell, I'm creating an assistant, an OpenAI assistant called Python Developer that is going to have at its disposal OpenAI's Code Interpreter as a tool. Okay, so this next snippet of code here is allows me to bring this assistant into the Autogen framework. So LLM config equals assistant ID colon assistant ID. So when I create this assistant, it's going to generate an ID for this assistant. And then I'm pulling that ID here into my LLM config. Okay. So next I'm going to create a GPT assistant in Autogen. So the way to do that is, or maybe a better way to say that is, I'm going to create a GPT Autogen assistant. Anyhow, to do that, I'm naming it GPT assistant. Again, I could name this whatever I want. And then I'm using the code GPT assistant agent, and then in parentheses, I'm naming it coder assistant. The instructions are: you are an expert at writing Python code to analyze data. Reply terminate when the task has been solved. And then LLM config equals LLM config. And so it's accessing this assistant, OpenAI assistant that I created here, is being pulled into the Autogen framework via this line of code here. So then the next step is to, let me clear that. The next step is to create a user proxy agent. And again, a user proxy agent is how I'm going to send in my task to the user proxy agent. And the user proxy agent is going to interact with the GPT assistant, who has access via this LLM config to the code interpreter tools. Okay. So when creating a user proxy, to create a user proxy agent, I write user proxy equals user proxy agent, calling the name of the user proxy agent Jason, which is my name. And then code execution config, working directory is coding. So what this means is if I were to have it create any files, it would go into a directory called coding. Okay. So to initiate chat, basically what you do is very simple. It's one line of code here. User proxy. I want the user proxy to initiate the chat with the GPT assistant. And the message that I am sending it is task. And so the data file contains results from a survey about cryptocurrencies. Please analyze the results of the first 5 questions. I want to know how many respondents selected each answer choice and the percentage. Place the results into an easy to read table. So quick recap. I pulled in the API, my OpenAI API key here. I uploaded a file, a CSV file that I want my assistant, OpenAI assistant, to be able to analyze using Code Interpreter. Now, I'm pulling that OpenAI Assistant into the Autogen framework through this code here, and then I'm calling it a GPT assistant. So this GPT assistant can then interact with user proxy, and I can, ask multiple questions about this data if I want to. So let's go ahead and run this. Run each of these code snippets. So let's just go one by one. Okay, I'm creating my user proxy. Okay, so I've run all of these code snippets here. I've created all the agents, and I'm going to initiate my chat right now, and let's see how well it's able to take a look at this data in the CSV file and answer the task that I've given it. So Jason, who I set as the user proxy agent, is asking this or setting this task for the coder assistant that I wrote right here. And so let's give this a minute and see what the coder assistant is able to do with this. And again, it's the neat thing about this is it's using the code interpreter tool, OpenAI's code interpreter tool, to do this. So it's taking it a little bit of time. And I'm wondering if I should pause this video while it's doing this, so you don't have to wait. Let me go ahead and do that. Let me pause. Okay, so it finished, and this is the output that I got. It's just explaining its steps. I'll examine the uploaded file to determine the format and structure of the survey data. Recognizes that it's a plain text file, possibly CSV. There was an error when attempting to read the file. It fixed that error and was able to read it successfully. And it was able to confirm here it's a CSV containing survey responses. Then next, we will calculate the frequency and percentage of the responses for each of the first 5 questions. And here's a summary table showing the frequency and percentage of respondents who selected each answer choice for the first 5 questions of the survey. So it did this. This table, it's a little hard to read. So what I'm going to do, as you can see, I'm able to provide feedback to Coder Assistant. So I want to see if it can make this table a little bit more easy to read. So let me type that in. Please make the table easier to read. And let's see what it does with that. So here we can see I asked the Coder Assistant, Jason, that's me, the user proxy, to Coder Assistant, please make the table easier to read. And let's see what it does with that request. Again, let me pause the video so you don't have to wait. Okay, so I had a little bit of trouble having the coder assistant create tables that I wanted. So, and this sometimes happens when you're using the GPTs. And I just simply reran the code again um, while I was pausing, so you didn't have to sit through all that. And as you can see, sometimes the output is not always exact. The results are the same, but the way the GPT outputs sometimes is a little different. So um, one way around this is what I could have done, which I didn't, is you can actually provide examples of how you want the output to look like. So in my prompt, I could have um, shown it exactly how I wanted it in this particular table format. But the second time I ran this code, it actually did it the way that I wanted. So um, it went through and it read it successfully. Then it says, I will now analyze the first 5 questions by counting how many respondents selected each answer choice and calculating the percentage of each choice. Let's proceed with creating an easy to read table for these results. And so the second time that I ran the code, it worked. It output the answers in a way that's a little bit easier to read. And so the first question, so it didn't actually give the name of the question or the question, what the question was. So that's probably something, again, it's something to keep in mind, that if you have a fairly vague prompt, which I have here, sometimes your output might not be exactly what you're looking for. So I would have preferred that you can see in these subsequent questions, it has the question and then the results. Here, for some reason, it's missing the question for the first answer choice. So if I remember correctly, it's the first question was something about, have you ever heard of or about cryptocurrencies such as Bitcoin or Ethereum before? And so 83% said yes, no, 16% said no. So this is actually pretty impressive, I think. So I simply uploaded a CSV file with survey data, and my prompt or my task that I gave it was very simple and vague. I didn't give it a lot of detailed instructions, just go ahead and analyze the data, and it did a really good job of doing that. So I'm not going to do it in this tutorial, but you can imagine this survey, I think, had 10 questions with maybe five or six demographic questions at the end. And so I could really have the agent, my coder assistant, I could actually create another agent called data analyst and have the two of them work together to go through and analyze all of the questions, and then come up with significant findings and things like that. So I hope this video was helpful. Again, I just wanted to show you briefly how you can access the new OpenAI Assistants API with Autogen, and then actually create agents and have them interact with each other. So thanks for watching, and I will see you next time.